Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Drew McWeeny from HitFix.com. This is the fourth time I've been up here since Thursday morning, and there's a difference between this panel and the other three. Those were all films that I'm curious about, like you guys. This next film, though, I've seen it, and it is awesome. I've read a lot of people write very anxious things because they love the original version of this movie, the Swedish film, and I get that, because remakes are often a business decision and not a creative one. The final film sometimes reflects that, often reflects that. If you're talking smack about this film, though, and dismissing it as just another remake, it's because you haven't seen this film yet. Today we've got some of the cast here, along with writer-director Matt Reeves, and it is my sincere belief that by the time we're finished here today, you'll understand how special this one really is. So let me bring out the director of Cloverfield, Matt Reeves. I'd also like to introduce Kodi-Smith McPhee, who you may have seen in The Road last year. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce one of the great character actors working today to you, Richard Jenkins. And I know you guys are excited for our next guest because I've seen about 30 hit girls since I've been here on Thursday. Ladies and gentlemen, Chloe Moretz. So Matt, a big part of why this film works, or a big part of why we hope this film works, is the casting of the movie. The kids in particular, it's very important that you get that relationship right. Can you talk about the process of finding Kodi and Chloe and putting them together?
Sure. I mean, the thing about it is that, you know, the original film is such a beautiful film, and specifically what makes that work is that it's got an extraordinary story about these people. And you know, in doing the search, I kind of felt like if we couldn't find the kids, we really didn't have a movie, because it's an adult story. It's a complex emotional story, and yet it falls on two 12-year-old kids to play. And so we just started reading people. There was a scene that I had written in the script where I felt that Owen, as he's known in our film, his Oscar in the original, that he would you know, that he would essentially react to discovering that Abby, in our story from Ellie, from the original, that she was a vampire, and that he would be lost and reeling. And I was inspired by this scene in Rosemary's Baby where the camera just holds on Mia Farrow when she's freaking out late in the movie, and it's just her on the phone, and she's having a nervous breakdown. She's falling to pieces. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to see Owen go through that? And then the moment I was done writing it, I thought, who am I going to find to do that? And we started reading people, and a lot of young actors came in, and you know, people are playing different things. And then Kodi comes in, and I haven't seen The Road, but I heard he was extraordinary in it, and I had seen Romulus, My Father, and he's terrific in that movie. But he was 10 when he did that movie. Is that right? Were you 10? 9. Okay, so this character was older, and I thought, well, who knows? And he's Australian, and so he was so amazing in that scene that literally I said, oh, well, that's it, we have to stop. That's who we have to cast. And now I know we can do this movie because he can play that role. And the same thing happened with Chloe. Chloe came in, and I was looking for someone who could play that role, but who would not play a vampire, per se. Because the role really, the difficulty of this story is it's about how hard it is to be a vampire, really. It's about sort of not being happy about it. It's not romantic at all. And when Chloe came in, we really explored a lot of stuff. I found these photographs by a photographer named Mary Ellen Mark, and there was a picture of a homeless family that she documented, and their names were ironically the Dam family. And there was a little girl at the center of it, and she had this look of defiance in her face. And she also was holding her younger brother's little hand so protectively, and yet you could tell that she was a very, very sort of wounded soul. And when Chloe came in, we explored that. I showed her the pictures, and she showed how beautifully vulnerable she could be and how tough she could be. And then when it came to it, she was totally willing to dive in and be primal. And I hadn't seen a Kick-Ass, I hadn't seen The Road, nobody would show me anything. So I was just like, you know what, these kids are amazing. And then the cool thing was we started shooting, and all of those movies came out, and people were like, wow, those kids are amazing. I was like, yes, they are amazing. And the last piece of the puzzle was to find someone who would play Hakan. And I was very fortunate, you know, when Overture approached me, they also said, you know, hey, will you come to an evening that we're having for Richard Jenkins, who's nominated for an Academy Award for The Visitor. And I thought he was so amazing in that film. And then I had the pleasure, my wife and I were talking to him that evening, and he was so lovely. And I was about halfway through the script, and my wife turned to me and she said, that's him. Did you see his eyes? And I was like, I became obsessed. I was like, we have to get Richard Jenkins for this. And I was really fortunate that when he read the story, that he responded to it and agreed to be in the film. And so really, this is my dream cast, and it was such a beautiful experience to work with them. They're so amazingly talented, and you know, Lindquist's story is such a complex and beautiful story, and the relationships are so critical to it, and to have actors of this caliber play those roles is, I can't wait for you guys to see the movie.
Well, before we go any further, why don't we take a look at the first clip that you brought, and if you could go ahead and set up what that is.
Sure. I mean, for anybody who doesn't know the story, Kodi plays Owen, who is a brutally bullied kid. He has such a hard time at school, and his parents are going through a divorce, and he really has no friends. He's very, very lonely. And there is another family, or so it seems, that moves into the building, Richard and Chloe, and he sees them move in one day, and one of the first things that Chloe tells Kodi is that they can't be friends, and he's desperate for a friend, and he's thinking, what did I do? And despite all of that, they actually do become quite close, and she becomes the one person in the world who he can connect to. And so this first clip is, I just really felt it was important to bring and show you guys just how extraordinary these guys are. And so this is a scene after she's basically told him that he should fight back, because the bullies they've literally slashed his face. It's just terrible. And they are getting very close, and it's the first time he's had anyone who can understand him. And this is a scene where essentially, I guess they kind of go out on a date. So this is a scene in our arcade, and it leads into, of course, what Kodi doesn't know is that she's the vampire. And it's quite, we've seen her do some very vicious things, and actually we've seen Richard go out and get dinner for her, so to speak. So we know what he doesn't know, which is she has this very dark side. And here's the clip.